I'm not in the Lake District today. I'm at a place called Hardendale Nab, which is very close to where I live in the village of Shap. To the east of here you've got the M6 motorway, and to the west you've got the Pennines. Not that you can see either of them, because as you can see, it's very misty this morning. I've come here this morning to get the last shot for my 2021 project. At the start of the year, I began a project that involved me shooting 12 locations in the area around the village where I live. And the idea was to put together a set of 12 images that showcased the beauty of this area, an area that I think is overlooked by the vast majority of visitors to the Lake District National Park, but also to show how this landscape changes with the seasons. So at the end of this project, I'm going to select 12 images from the 12 locations, one for each location, one for each month of the year. And this shot here today is going to be my shot for Hardendale Nab and my shot for December. And the reason I wanted to feature Hardendale Nab in the project is that there is this fantastic limestone escarpment up here that runs from the south towards the north. Not that you can see it very well today because of the mist. It certainly was a lot clearer when I arrived here first thing this morning. I've come to the very southern end of the escarpment, and that's because from this point here you get this lovely view of the cliffs as they curve away from you. There's a slight curve in them, and this I think gives you the best view of that. And there's also some quite interesting foreground right in front of me. So I've got a line that's coming almost out of the bottom right hand corner of the frame, and then that's curving off into the distance. At this time of year, the sun is rising right in the southeast, and because I'm shooting towards the north, that means that when the sun comes up, I'm going to have my shadow on the foreground that I'm trying to photograph. So I need to get all of my shots done before the sun breaks the horizon. Now, fortunately today, although it's clear above, I've got a lot of cloud on the horizon, so that's going to delay the sun reaching me. I'm starting off shooting in landscape orientation today, and that's because the project is going to be presented as a series of 16:9 images. But I've got a very nice pink sky behind the escarpment, and you sometimes get this on the opposite horizon from the rising sun. I think it's called the Belt of Venus, and that's going to be more obvious when I switch the camera into portrait orientation. And I'll come back to why I'm doing that in a moment. Got some quite nice clouds forming now in the distance, and the escarpment kind of leads off towards those clouds. They're not going to be very big in the frame because I'm shooting really wide this morning. In order to fit it all in, I'm at 16mm, which is the widest that I can actually shoot at. And that allows me to fit the whole shape of the escarpment in, particularly this bit right in front of me. So that's going to be quite small. You'll also notice that I'm not using any filters this morning, apart from my polarizer, just to take a little bit of the glare off. And that's because shooting away from the sun, you don't get that big difference in dynamic range between the bright sky and the dark foreground. It's reasonably well balanced. And certainly the dynamic range is low enough that I can capture it on my dear old DSLR. We're at 10 minutes after sunrise now, and I can see just a bright part at the top of the cloud, so I know exactly where the sun is going to be rising. I don't know how long I've got until I get direct light on the scene, so I'm just going to keep shooting until it hits me, but it should hit the end of the escarpment before it gets to me, and that might create a little bit more interest in the shot. Just as I was saying that, we've had a load of mist roll in, and that's completely changed the scene. Completely. It's completely different. Not going to change my composition though. No, not at all. But it was forecast for today, but you know what the weather forecast is like. it's usually wrong. But today it seems they've got it about right. It's a little bit later than it was forecast for, but yeah, this is it's almost quite eerie now. This is going to leave me with quite a dilemma. You know, which of these two shots is going to make it into the project with the mist and without? I don't know how much longer this mist is going to last. The sun is fully up now, and it's starting to burn it off. It's starting to clear, it's starting to lift. You're starting to be able to see into the distance now. I can see bits of the Lake District from here. But I'm still shooting because I can start to see a little bit more of the escarpment, and as the mist lifts, I get more of the cliffs, but I still get a little bit of that kind of misty atmosphere, which is pretty cool. Now that the sun is up, I am starting to cast a bit of a shadow on my foreground, but it's not too bad at the moment, and the light keeps coming in and out. But it's also lighting up the grasses that I've got here as well. So I'm going to keep shooting until my shadow becomes very, very obvious in the shot. And then I think it's probably going to be time for me to head home. But before I do that, remind me to tell you a little bit more about the project. I think that's it for me for Hardendale Nab and for my project. As you can see, I'm casting quite a significant shadow, and you can at least now see the end of Hardendale Nab. But before I go, let me just tell you a little bit more about the project. It's been inspired by a quote by Ansel Adams, who said that 12 significant photos in any one year is a good crop. And as I explained earlier, it's involved me getting 12 images from 12 different locations around the village where I live, one for each month, so that I can show how the landscape has changed with the seasons. And if you want to find out more about the project, perhaps you might want to take on a similar sort of project yourself in 2022, then if you go to 12significantphotos.com, you can find out all about it. Now, if you want to read about my experiences of working on this project, I have written a blog post, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check that out. And I also mentioned earlier that I was shooting everything in both landscape orientation and portrait orientation. Now, those portrait shots I'm using to create a zine, which I'm going to share those 12 images and a little bit of the story about each of the locations that I featured in the project. That zine will be available to buy via my Ko-fi shop. Again, I will leave a link in the description below. And buying that zine will really help to support me to do more of these sort of projects in the future. Anyway, that's it for me for 2021. I'm going to wish you all a very happy new year, and I hope to see you at some point in 2022.